Hello, this is Peter Stewart, looking for the balance today in today's episode of Get a Better Broadcast Podcast and Video Voice. Thanks very much indeed for the loan of your ears. Yeah, we're talking about intonation and the different parts of a sentence that you intonate, that you slightly lift to draw attention to it. These are the key words. They are the meaningful words or the meaningful phrases that help make the story, the words or phrases you want to draw attention to, and you intonate them by slightly lifting them. And sometimes I'm using the word colouring. Yeah, you're not stressing or emphasizing, because that suggests too much power. It's much more nuanced than that. Yeah, as I said there in the word nuanced. I didn't emphasize or exaggerate or stress. I just lifted it slightly. I gave it a bit more colour, a bit more depth perhaps. And one of the other keys for looking out for the words or the phrases that you need to colour, you need to draw attention to, is when you find that in a sentence there's a balance, there's a fulcrum, there's something happening on two sides. So look for the fulcrum in the story or the sentence. What balances one side with another? Let me explain. A story is often a story because the arc is based around an axis point. Yeah, while this is happening over here, that's happening over there. Or he says this, but she says that. Now, as I just read those sentences, I'm lifting those appropriate words. This, here, that, there. Yeah? That's because those words are giving context through contrast or comparison. Let's say that again. While this is happening over here, that is happening over there. Okay, I've exaggerated slightly, but just to draw attention to those key words. You've got two parts of that sentence. You've got, while this is happening over here, and you've got, that's happening over there. Or, he says this, but she says that. And so you've got the he, which is balancing with the she, and the this balancing with the that. You've got quite a bit going on there. Let me give you a few more examples which are a little longer, maybe a little bit more complicated. Here we go. And here's the first one. The government says their proposal would be progress, but the unions say it's a backward step. The prosecution says he killed the shopkeeper deliberately. The accused says it was self-defence. Some companies only give a 5-year guarantee. We promise to repair or replace for a decade. The race favourite was going solo, but the winner was Acapulco. Yeah? So those sentences are also in the show notes, so you're able to go back and read them and hear how I've used the intonation to draw attention to the two sides of that seesaw, if you like, the two sides of the argument, the two sides of that fulcrum. For example, the government says their proposal will be progress, but the unions say it's a backward step, and so on. You'll be able to see that balance on both sides of all four sentences there. And what you're actually looking out for is the fulcrum, which is at the comma of those sentences, with the contrasting balancing words either side of it. Yeah, and you've usually got, in those examples there, you've usually got two. So the favourite, going solo, winner, Acapulco. So you've got the favourite balanced with winner and going solo with Acapulco. And these are not synonyms because in that example there, the horses and where they came in the race are different. So they're not synonyms, which we spoke about a week or so ago. Okay, here's another example. Deciding how to get to the holiday location. All right. I think it's better to go by plane rather than by train. You naturally highlight those two modes of transport which could be considered and which contrast with one another, plane and train. And in doing so, you suppress what I've been calling the grammatical grouting that joins those two together. in this case, the three words rather than by. Yeah, I think it's better to go by plane rather than by train. You're highlighting plane and train. You're dropping that grammatical grouting in the middle to help with that contrast. So you go by plane, and on the plane the cabin crew offer you a meal, and they come down and they say, would you like chicken, fish or pasta? Again, the meaningful words are those which introduce new information, which are also the ones which are balancing. You can have more than two parts to this intonational fulcrum. So whereas you suppress would you like, you highlight chicken, fish and pasta. And you also suppress the grammatical grouting of or. Yeah? Would you like chicken, fish or pasta? That's it for today. You got all of those examples in the show notes, of course. Tomorrow, contrasts within contrasts. Yeah, we're going to be stepping it up a little bit, getting a little bit more involved, a little bit more in-depth as Get a Better broadcast, podcast and video voice continues. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.